Prime Minister Frendel Stewart has described the public sector job cuts as a sacrifice that had to be made in the national interest. This as he spoke on the measure for the first time since it was announced in Parliament last week by the Finance Minister Chris Sinclair. Now, Prime Minister Stewart says the Democratic Labour Party administration had to take the action after holding the hands of Barbadians for the past 6 years. According to him, for every dollar that government earns, 54 cents goes to paying public servants, and 10.3% of Barbados' GDP is accounted for by wages and salaries, the highest recorded in the Caribbean. The Prime Minister says this is unsustainable and government had to take a tough decision in sending home workers. Prime Minister Frendel Stewart says he will be meeting with officials from the National Union of Public Workers later today about possible alternatives to the mass layoffs. One option that may be put on the table is cutting the salaries of public sector workers.
This is an option that is still being exercised in other parts of the world in order to keep people employed. I'm not suggesting at all that that is an option which we would have wanted to contemplate. What I am saying, though, that it is an option, that it is open to a certain extent to unions, representative institutions of the workers, to put on the table as a way partially out of this.
Now, the Prime Minister was addressing the media after a news conference where government revealed that the ultra-low sulfur diesel has now been distributed and is now being distributed across Barbados. 4 people, including 2 children, ages 11 and 7, were taken to hospital after being knocked down by a vehicle on yesterday afternoon. Now, the 4 were at the time on their way to Brandon's Beach. CBC News understands that the vehicle was driven by an elderly man. A woman was reportedly knocked unconscious and transported to hospital along with her 2 children. She sustained a cut to her face and complained of injuries about the body. The 2 children and a man who were also with her received minor injuries. Police and fire officials are investigating an early morning blaze at Melrose St. Thomas. An unoccupied house has been completely destroyed and it's reportedly owned by Sandra Graham of Belleville St. Michael. The fire broke out around 5 this morning. 2 tenders responded to the call, one from headquarters, the other from Arch Hall. Fire officials were able to contain the blaze to that house. A slight earthquake was recorded off Barbados early yesterday morning. The Trinidad and Tobago-based UWI Seismic Research Center says the tremor had a magnitude of 3.8 on the Richter scale and struck south of the island at a depth of 66 kilometers. This event may have been felt in islands nearby. Several other minor earthquakes have been recorded in the northern Caribbean in the area of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico yesterday and today. In other news locally, a 12-year-old boy has been reported missing. He's Rajesh Bport of the Garden St. James. Bport left his home at about 5:45 yesterday afternoon to go to a residence at Mount Standfast St. James. He reportedly never arrived. Bport was last seen in Paynes Bay. At the time, he was wearing a long-sleeve navy blue striped shirt with red and beige and a navy blue short pants with a stripe to the side. He's of East Indian descent, has a light brown complexion and has a slim build. Bport has short, straight hair and speaks with a Barbadian accent. Anyone who may know the whereabouts of Rajesh Bport is asked to contact the nearest police station. The Sanitation Service Authority is appealing to city dwellers to stop illegal dumping immediately. SSA officials say despite their consistent efforts to keep the districts in Bridgetown clean, some residents there are persisting with the bad habit. One of the outreach initiatives undertaken by the SSA was a town hall meeting which was scheduled for yesterday. However, none of the residents turned up. SSA officials took the media on a tour of the dumping hotspots in the city, such as Wellington Street, Cypress Street, Nelson Street, and Beckwith Street. Operations Manager at the SSA, Michael Nichols, described the situation as unhealthy for both residents and workers.
When things like this occur, we have to look for front-end loaders in order to load it, because as you can see, 3 of the bags there have a lot of flies on them. That tells you that something is in there that is probably giving off a stench. And clearly we cannot send our workers to work in an environment like this. We have to come to this area in particular, Lyon Street, King William Street, Beckwith Street, every Friday and every Tuesday in order to ensure that it doesn't get out of hand.
Some good news now. Barbadians are paying a little less for petroleum products from today. Reports are that as of midnight last night, there was a slight dip in the price of fuel. Gasoline now costs 8 cents less, priced at $3.03 per litre, while the price of diesel went down by just a cent, retailing at $2.78 per litre. The cost of kerosene remained unchanged at $1.82 per litre. As far as bottled gas is concerned, the retail price of the 100-pound cylinder dropped just $12 from $192.40 to $180.16. The 25-pound cylinder costs $3 less, now priced at $50.14. You will now pay $44.29 for the 22-pound cylinder, a saving of over $2, and the 20-pound cylinder moved from $42.71 down to $40.26. Government is committed to continued open dialogue with all citizens and on all matters relating to affairs of the country, especially in relation to human rights. This from the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Charles Burnett. Mr. Burnett notes that this is and has always been part of its human rights commitment to the principles of participatory democracy. He made the comment recently at a reception marking Human Rights Day at UN House.
The government of Barbados is committed to the principle of participatory democracy and will continue to facilitate the active engagement of its citizens as it strives to strengthen the bonds of trust, mutual respect, and cooperation, with the objective of building a stronger, more resilient society. We hope that our example will produce a positive ripple effect for human rights, not only in the Caribbean, but across the global community.
Mr. Burnett also says the government of Barbados believes strongly in providing an enabling environment for the continued promotion of human rights.
We've provided an enabling environment which has made it possible for our citizens, collectively and as individuals, to achieve an improved quality of life. Notwithstanding our many vulnerabilities, Barbados has the advantage of an exceptionally high level of human capital, which has facilitated the active and meaningful engagement of all Barbadians in this island's economic and political affairs.
Barbados continues to mourn the passing of the South African anti-apartheid icon Nelson Mandela. Speaking here yesterday after Mandela was laid to rest in his hometown of Kunu, Reverend Alan Jones spoke of how Mandela helped to unite the world.
Left to ourselves, we'd be riddled with hate and revenge. It was the love of God working through that man, Mandela, that was able to bring him through those 30 years of incarceration, and at the end of it, to be able to forgive those who had done it. And the power of that love was that it united disparate factions while he lived, and it united the whole world virtually as he died.
Reverend Jones was at the time delivering the sermon at the St. Andrew Parish Church during a service signaling the start of Tourism Week 2013.